One morning, Elsa is harvesting vegetables in a field by herself. She rides back to a house where children spot her and excitedly run up to her. Upon reaching the house, she sets the vegetables on the table where matron Anne, the caretaker of the children, thanks her for helping them with their food supply. One of the boys expresses disgust at the carrots, but Elsa tries to convince him that if they add the carrots to the soup, he won't even notice them. Alan, a worker, then enters the room and upon noticing Elsa, thanks her for the work clothes she provided on her last visit. Anne wonders if he means the work clothes that Elsa made from old garments. Elsa confirms those are the ones she gave Alan. Since they were well received, Alan wonders if he can trouble Elsa for more and she happily agrees to make more for everyone. Alan hands her a basket of bread for her trouble, which she happily accepts. After that, she takes her leave, promising to visit again once she harvests more vegetables. When she's out of earshot, Alan comments that Elsa is such a wonderful person. If not for unfortunate circumstances, she would have become a princess in a prestigious kingdom. Back at home, Hannes, Elsa's brother, complains about the soup they are having. In a kind tone, his parents tell him that the soup is their signature dish and that a lot of thought and love was put into making it. Lucas, Elsa's father, then notices that the bread on the table came from Alan. Elsa admits she wished they had meat for dinner as well, but the trap she set up failed to catch anything. Her family doesn't mind, stating that there will be hard days like that, and Lucas even jokes that the rabbits in their area are also very intelligent. This sparks a round of laughter around the table. Later, before bed, Elsa notices that it has started snowing, so she knows it will be very cold soon. Because of a draft, the temperature drops so low that the window does little to keep out the cold. She notes that the house needs repairs before winter, and that they need to buy more firewood to last them through the season. She wants the house to be comfortable so Hannes won't have a hard time studying. She considers the marriage proposal she received, but the man is about the same age as her father, so she is hesitant. During the day, as she tends to the vegetables, her mind drifts back to the proposal. She thinks it's about time she accepted it, especially since the Duke had already stated that he would support her family if she did. She then hears and feels her stomach grumble and decides that she really needs a place where she can eat well. When she returns to the house, she's about to bring up the proposal, but her parents tell her they have something urgent to discuss with her. Apparently, the Royas family has sent a proposal for her to marry their eldest son, Julius. Hannes is stunned and wonders when Elsa had even met Julius. Elsa looks confused as to why Hannes is so surprised and admits that she has never even heard of Julius. Hannes is even more shocked, so he explains that Julius is the aide to the kingdom's crown prince. All this information only makes Elsa more confused, since she has never heard of any of these people. Her parents understand because their family isn't influential enough to be invited to social gatherings. Hannes wants more details about the proposal, aware that there are usually conditions. However, Lucas notes that there aren't any. Hannes finds that impossible because he doesn't think their house has anything noteworthy to offer the kingdom, especially since they are already considered a fallen noble house. Their parents become a little uneasy with his outbursts, but Hannes continues to insist that there must be some ulterior motive behind the proposal. Lucas says the proposal comes with an offer to strengthen their territory and even repair their buildings. Inspectors came earlier and even mentioned how worn down their property was. Elsa announces that she will marry Julius. Her parents want her to think things over, with Sophia, her mother, mentioning that Elsa's happiness is very important. Hannes also voices his suspicions. Elsa reasons that Lucas and Sophia's marriage was also an arranged one, yet they clearly love each other. She also mentions that since Julius is offering so much, he must be a kind person. She doesn't tell them, but she is also willing to endure any kind of person as long as her family is taken care of and can live comfortably. So she confirms once more that she's marrying Julius. Now, on her wedding day, she realizes that her decision was made too hastily. She expected the wedding to happen soon, but she didn't expect it to come so quickly. She hears a knock on the door, followed by a servant informing her that Julius has arrived. Julius then enters and apologizes for introducing himself to her only on the day of their wedding. Elsa is taken aback. She finds Julius radiant and wonders if everyone in the city is as dazzling as he is. She remembers her manners and happily introduces herself in return. They are then informed that the preparations for the wedding are complete, so they need to head to the ceremony. Julius gently leads her, but a sad expression rests on his face whenever she isn't looking. The ceremony is quick and concludes without any problems. During the reception in the garden, Elsa looks at the lavish spread of food and thinks that Julius is an amazing person. She begins to think that the life ahead of her might be too good to be true. Julius then stands beside her to ask if she is tired. After confirming that she is doing well, he informs her that he learned she was fond of gardening, so he made sure their reception was held as a garden party. Elsa wonders where he heard that and realizes he must have learned about the vegetable patch she tends at home. She doesn't correct him, choosing instead to be grateful that he is so considerate. She then looks around the party, which is filled with unfamiliar nobles. She knows that starting today, she needs to carry herself with dignity because she is now Julius' wife. Rebecca, a childhood friend of Julius, then congratulates him. Julius introduces Rebecca to Elsa as the wife of a marquis. Rebecca giggles and mentions that she is now reassured Julius will be fine with his wife. The marriage had come as a surprise to her, but she thinks Elsa is a good match for him. She bids them farewell, promising to speak with Elsa again someday soon. Once she leaves, the couple is approached by Serafina. Elsa finds her equally dazzling and begins thinking that everyone from the city carries the same elegant aura. When Serafina introduces herself and offers her hand, Elsa happily introduces herself as well and reaches out to shake it. This makes Serafina laugh and call Elsa naive. Before she can say anything more, Elsa's parents approach them, so Serafina decides to take her leave. When her parents reach the couple, they congratulate them on the wedding. Serafina compliments Julius' choice of a garden party, finding it a beautiful place to celebrate their union. Lucas cannot stop crying as he congratulates the couple once again. Later, after the festivities, Elsa and Julius return to their manor and are greeted by several servants. As she follows Julius, she wonders if she will ever get used to her new life. She already feels that everyone has been supportive of their union, so she thinks it is at least off to a good start. When they reach the top of the stairs, Julius calls for her attention, his voice noticeably colder than before. He tells her that while they are now married, he has no intention of growing to love her. He then explains that, as his wife, she must follow 3 conditions. First, she must behave in a manner befitting the wife of a future duke. Second, she must not interfere in his affairs. Third, whenever they are together in public, they must act like a happy and loving couple. He promises her that as long as she follows those 3 conditions, she is free to do whatever else she pleases. He admits that he married her only because he believes their union will be beneficial to him, just as she seeks to benefit from him. He tells her that she can think of it as a marriage of convenience. As he turns to continue walking toward his room, Elsa mentions how relieved she is. He faces her again and is surprised when she admits that she accepted the proposal so her family would have one less mouth to feed. She explains that she was worried the marriage was one-sided, but hearing that he does not see her as a liability puts her at ease. She offers him her hand, hoping for a fruitful companionship. Julius is taken aback and simply says that it is good she understands. Elsa is surprised by the change in his personality. She realizes that trying to love someone is truly a challenge. She was hoping to at least be on friendly terms with Julius, and the conditions he gave her were already things she had expected of herself. Despite how things turned out, she feels thankful that Julius was honest about his feelings instead of pretending otherwise. A maid leads her to her own room, which she finds spacious and lavish compared to her old one. She even notices the snacks prepared for her on the side table. She wants to have some but decides that she has already eaten enough for the day. She begins unpacking her belongings, and the first thing she takes out of her suitcase is an old music box. Her parents had shown it to her when she was younger, telling her that it was their family's treasured heirloom, and that one day it would belong to her once she found love. Now the music box is hers because they gave it to her to celebrate her marriage to Julius. Meanwhile, Julius is alone in his room, silently staring at his wedding band. It had not been too long ago when Prince Alexis asked Julius to marry Elsa. He told Julius that Elsa's family was descended from the royal family of another kingdom that had once waged war against their country. However, they had lost the war. In order to save themselves, the kingdom offered its princess in marriage, which was how the Ukrainian family came to their kingdom and eventually became a ducal house. Julius affirmed that he already knew that part of history. Alexis then explained that the current Ukrainian family carried the blood of both kingdoms' royal families. Thus, their lineage was extremely prestigious. He had heard that Elsa was already of marriageable age, and he reckoned that it was only a matter of time before another kingdom sought her hand in marriage. He wanted Elsa to have a reason to remain in their kingdom. He admitted that it would have been easier to simply take her as his second wife, but he could not imagine himself loving another woman. So instead, he wanted to entrust the matter to Julius, believing he was good at dealing with women. Julius corrected him, explaining that his duties often required him to gather information, and he frequently dealt with women because they were the ones holding the information he needed. Still, when Alexis asked the favor once more, Julius found himself accepting the request. Alexis then told him that since the Ukrainian family rarely appeared at social gatherings, there was very little information about Elsa. He thinks about what he discovered about Elsa today. He admits that she is very different from what he imagined, but he still does not know what she is truly like. Meanwhile, Jarmo, Serafina's brother, apologizes to Serafina for missing the wedding ceremony. Serafina complained that Elsa left no impression on her at all and is extremely underwhelming. She sees at the fact that Julius chose a bride like Elsa. Jarmo reassures her that no woman could ever measure up to Serafina. However, he admits that he is looking forward to meeting Elsa himself. Back at the Royas manor, Elsa finds herself comfortable in her new bed. She knows that being married to Julius is different, but she remains optimistic about the future. One evening, Julius dreams about the home he always hated. He remembers the desk where he used to study and the hurtful words his parents constantly threw at one another. One time, their argument became so cruel that a servant had to interrupt them after noticing Julius watching from nearby. However, his parents didn't seem to even hide their dislike. When Julius awakens, he realizes it was only a dream. He figures those old memories surfaced because of his marriage. A month has passed since Elsa married Julius. She's busy in the garden gathering a harvest. Although Julius has said he has no intention of falling in love with her, Elsa is grateful that he is kind enough to let her spend her days however she pleases. After harvesting them, she delivers the fresh produce to the estate's chefs, who are always happy to see her. The maids also let her sew alongside them, and she enjoys their company. She finds these daily routines peaceful and fulfilling. During breakfast, Elsa greets Julius as he enters the dining room. After taking his seat, he notices that she seems much livelier than usual. For a brief moment, he wonders if she somehow poisoned his food, but he quickly dismisses the idea. He quietly observes her and notices how well she gets along with the maids. After breakfast, Elsa notices that Julius has not touched the salad made from the vegetables she grew. The maids reassure her that the vegetables are not the problem and that Julius refuses to eat several kinds of food without even trying them. Elsa thinks that is a terrible eating habit and announces that she is going to fix it. She studies several books about helping people get used to vegetables. While she's reading, a maid arrives carrying a tray filled with letters addressed to her. Most of them turn out to be invitations to tea parties. One particularly elegant envelope catches Elsa's attention, and she learns that it is from Rebecca. Elsa remembers meeting Rebecca and recalls that she is one of Julius' childhood friends. The maid confirms that Rebecca's family has been close to the Royas family for generations. Elsa decides to accept the invitation, believing it will be the perfect opportunity to learn more about Julius. Meanwhile, Serafina also receives several letters, including a tea party invitation from Rebecca. Wondering if Elsa will also be attending, Serafina decides to accept that invitation. On the day of the tea party, Elsa arrives at Rebecca's estate. Rebecca herself welcomes Elsa at the front entrance, excitedly explaining how happy she is that Elsa accepted the invitation so they can finally spend time talking together. Elsa happily tells her that she is looking forward to it as well. As they stroll through the manor, Rebecca asks how married life with Julius has been. Elsa immediately answers that she is being treated very well. Seeing the genuine smile on Elsa's face, Rebecca says she is relieved that Julius has finally found someone. She admits that she worries for Julius because of how immersed he is in his work. Elsa finds that surprising because Julius always carries himself with such a dignified presence. Rebecca then escorts Elsa to the room where the tea party is being held and asks her to wait inside. As Elsa enters, she notices several noble ladies already gathered. She politely greets them, and the ladies warmly return her greeting, mentioning that they have never really had the chance to meet her before. Serafina then steps forward to greet Elsa. Elsa immediately recognizes her and politely greets her in return. Serafina pretends to be delighted that Elsa remembers her and says she was very happy to have been invited to Elsa and Julius' wedding. However, she casually remarks that she was surprised Julius chose Elsa, considering how friendly he had always been toward her before Elsa came into his life. Elsa completely misses the implication and instead thinks she can learn a great deal about Julius from Serafina. Slightly surprised by Elsa's innocent reaction, Serafina explains that she first met Julius at a soiree 3 years ago. She claims that Julius always gave her special attention, frequently brought her small gifts, and always made sure she enjoyed herself whenever they spent time together. She tells Elsa that Julius is the perfect gentleman who treats every woman kindly, so she believes that Elsa is merely his wife by arrangement but is still treated kindly. Rebecca steps between them and reminds Serafina to watch her words since Elsa belongs to a ducal house. She currently outranks everyone present. Embarrassed after being called out, Serafina apologizes before excusing herself. After Serafina leaves the estate, Rebecca tells Elsa not to pay any attention to her. She explains that although Serafina is invited every time, she rarely attends, making today's appearance rather unusual. Elsa, however, simply says that she is worried because Serafina seems rather thin. Rebecca is left speechless, wondering whether Elsa failed to notice that Serafina had been insulting her the entire time. As the tea party continues, Rebecca tells Elsa that there is something important she wants to discuss. Later, they step outside to a quiet gazebo where Rebecca reveals that Julius works as an intelligence operative, a position that requires him to interact with many women. According to Rebecca, Julius has become an expert at keeping his emotions completely separate from his work. She also explains that because Julius grew up watching his parents constantly argue, he eventually became indifferent toward romantic love. Many women have developed feelings for Julius over the years, but because he never considers their emotions, he simply walks away without realizing the pain he leaves behind. As one of his childhood friends, Rebecca admits that she has also endured many harsh words because of her closeness to him. Even so, she assures Elsa that Julius is genuinely a kind person and sincerely hopes Elsa will continue to stay by his side. Elsa replies that she cannot imagine leaving Julius, who has treated her with nothing but kindness. Even though their marriage is arranged, Julius has already begun improving her family's territory and is supporting Hannah's education. She cannot believe someone willing to do so much could possibly be a bad person. Deeply touched by her words, Rebecca clasps Elsa's hands, overjoyed that someone like Elsa became Julius' wife. She tells Elsa that if she ever needs anything at all, she only has to ask, and Rebecca will gladly help. Seeing the perfect opportunity, Elsa asks whether there is a particular food Julius likes. Finding the question adorable, Rebecca tells her that Julius loves gratin with plenty of meat. The answer immediately excites Elsa because it would be easy to hide vegetables inside a dish like that. Rebecca smiles as she recalls that when they were children, Julius once ate an entire tray of gratin that had been prepared for a party. Elsa is surprised because that story seems completely unlike the composed Julius she knows. Rebecca sighs and says it is troublesome that Julius is still as picky about food as a child. She complains that he will already be turning 24 next month and should have outgrown that habit by now. Elsa is surprised to learn that his birthday is so close. Feeling guilty for not knowing such an important detail, she asks Rebecca if Julius would mind if she celebrated his birthday with him this year. Rebecca can only smile at how thoughtful Elsa is and reassures her that Julius would surely be delighted. Later that evening, Elsa decides that serving meat gratin for dinner would be perfect, but she still wonders what she should give him as a present. Hoping for inspiration, she reaches for a book for ideas. The next morning, Elsa tends to her vegetable patch before joining the maids to sew. The maids grow curious about what she is making, but Elsa only teases them, saying it is a secret. She then notices a sunflower lying on the table and asks what it is for. One of the maids explains that she is making herself a corsage. Another maid chimes in that it is for the Sun Festival. The maids explain that the Sun Festival celebrates the founding of the Kingdom of Ralt. They say that when the first king of Ralt delivered his speech, the people raised sunflowers in celebration, and the tradition has continued ever since. Elsa shares that her own territory also celebrates the Sun Festival. She remembers how she and the children would decorate their front doors with sunflowers every year. However, she has always been curious about how the festival is celebrated in the capital because she has heard it is truly spectacular. The maids eagerly agree, describing it as the greatest festival in the entire kingdom. Finally, Julius' birthday arrives and Elsa finishes wrapping his present. That evening, Julius attends a meeting with Alexis and Jerry to discuss the preparations for the upcoming Sun Festival. Jerry reassures the prince that security is as tight as ever, though Alexis expresses concern that their usual precautions may not be enough this year. Julius asks if he believes Count Parnilla might make a move. Alexis confirms Julius' suspicion. He explains that the Count's family has amassed considerable power in a surprisingly short amount of time. Jerry adds that Jarma's recent movements have also been suspicious. Alexis reveals that he previously had Julius gather intelligence by getting close to Serafina, but none of the information she provided proved useful. He admits that he has done many things to stand in Count Parnilla's way, so he imagines the Count must be furious with him. Even so, he is not particularly worried about his own safety, confident that Julius and Jerry will be able to protect him. Alexis then asks how Elsa has been doing. Julius says that Elsa has been attending tea parties lately, and that he gave her a plot of land where she could indulge in gardening. He admits that he expected her to grow flowers, but instead she planted a vegetable patch and even happily informed him that she harvested radishes this morning. Jerry points out that Julius hates vegetables. The comment makes both Jerry and the prince laugh, finding Elsa's actions rather endearing. Alexis even remarks that he believes Julius and Elsa will eventually become a wonderful married couple. On the carriage ride home, Julius reflects on Alexis' words. He cannot picture himself ever having a happy marriage because of the relationship his own parents had. It has already been 2 months since the wedding ceremony, yet the only time he spends with Elsa is during breakfast. He also notes she is there to bid him farewell and welcome him home. But all of that he considers as something expected of them. When he arrives at the manor, he is surprised that Elsa is not waiting to greet him. The servants inform him that she is in the dining room. As Julius walks through the manor, he notices that the rest of the house is unusually dim. When he opens the dining room doors, the room is warmly illuminated. A birthday cake and a platter of meat gratin are waiting on the table while Elsa stands nearby holding a neatly wrapped gift box. With a bright smile, she wishes him a happy birthday. When Julius does not respond immediately, Elsa nervously wonders if she somehow got the date wrong. He quietly assures her that today really is his birthday. Relieved, Elsa smiles before eagerly handing him his gift. Julius opens the box and finds a hand-sewn formal shirt inside. Elsa admits that she made it herself. She explains that celebrating birthdays was always an important family tradition in her childhood home, so since they are family now, she wanted to celebrate his birthday together. She adds that she planned the entire surprise party just for the two of them. Seeing his silence, Elsa begins to worry that she may have violated the conditions of their marriage. She immediately starts apologizing, but Julius gently stops her. He tells her that he does not mind celebrating at all and that he was simply surprised. Elsa beams, delighted that her surprise was a success, before happily wishing him a happy birthday once again. A little shyly, Julius thanks her. Finally, the day of the Sun Festival has arrived in the region. The kingdom is bursting with activity as stalls litter the streets. Aside from the festivities in the plaza, the nobles from all over gather to celebrate the nation's founding day in the castle. After the opening ceremony, Elsa takes a moment to catch her breath. Hannes finds her in one of the rooms and happily greets her since it has been a while since they last saw each other. The siblings spend some time catching up, and Hannes asks if anyone has been bullying her. When Elsa denies it, he proudly tells her that he is currently studying the kingdom's justice system, so if anything ever happens, he will be able to defend her legally. Elsa reassures him that she is doing well and that she is enjoying her life with Julius. However, as she describes her daily routine, Hannes notices that she hardly mentions spending any time with her husband. Elsa gazes out the window and wonders how lively the festival must be outside. She admits that she rarely leaves the manor except to attend tea parties. An idea suddenly comes to Hannes, and he suggests that they sneak into town to enjoy the festival together. He gives the maids a playful wink to win them over, and seeing that they quietly approve, Elsa agrees to go with him. Later, Julius finishes his meeting, and Serafina approaches him. He politely greets her and offers several courteous compliments that immediately make Serafina swoon. She invites him to a gathering her father is hosting later that evening. Julius considers accepting the invitation since attending would benefit his investigation. As he thinks it over, Serafina casually mentions that he does not need to worry about Elsa because she saw her leaving earlier with another man. The remark immediately catches Julius' attention as Serafina continues speaking negatively about Elsa. He ignores everything else and asks which part of town they went to, but Serafina admits that she does not know. Instead of accepting her invitation, Julius apologizes and explains that he already has prior plans that require his immediate attention and leaves. As Serafina watches him head off, she notices a small cufflink lying on the floor. Picking it up, she realizes it is a gift Elsa gave Julius, with both of their initials engraved on it. Julius heads to the room where he expected Elsa to be and asks the servants where she is. Nervously, they explain that Elsa has gone to the main plaza to enjoy the festival. Julius immediately heads out, unable to stop wondering if Elsa truly left with another man. As he searches the busy streets, an unfamiliar sense of anxiety begins to grow inside him. He cannot understand why he feels so uneasy while searching through the crowds. Their marriage is only one of convenience, so he knows he should not become emotionally invested. Even so, he cannot stop looking for her. He even mistakes another lady for Elsa out of worry. When he finally spots Elsa, he notices that she really is enjoying the festival beside another man. Conflicted, Julius calls out to her before instinctively grabbing her wrist. Once he has her attention, he asks who the man beside her is. Elsa suddenly realizes that Julius and Hannes have never properly met, so she happily explains that Hannes is her younger brother. Hannes politely introduces himself, and Julius immediately feels embarrassed for assuming otherwise. Hannes explains that he came to represent his family's house during the festival, and also took the opportunity to tour the royal castle. This makes Julius realize that he already knew the brother was coming. Elsa suddenly calls Julius' name after noticing that he is still holding her wrist. Growing even more embarrassed, Julius immediately lets go. He struggles to explain both his sudden actions and why he came all the way to the plaza. Watching the interaction, Hannes cannot help but think that Julius truly does love Elsa. Elsa happily invites Julius to join them, mentioning that there are all kinds of delicious festival foods to try. However, Hannes explains that he needs to return to the inn before his curfew. Before leaving, he tells Julius to take good care of Elsa and gives him a playful wink, leaving Julius completely caught off guard. After Hannes leaves, Julius remarks that Elsa and her brother are nothing alike. Elsa says that everyone back home always tells them they resemble each other. Julius then admits that he is not comfortable with Elsa wandering through town without an attendant. He quietly confesses that he was worried about her. After expressing his concerns, he casually mentions that he has finished all of his work for the day and would not mind trying one of the candied apples sold at the festival. Picking up on the invitation, Elsa eagerly offers to show him where to buy one. She happily leads him to a nearby stall and buys him a candied apple of his own. The two continue wandering through the festival, sampling food from different stalls while enjoying the lively atmosphere around them. When Elsa notices a street performance beginning nearby, she asks if he would like to watch it together. Julius pauses for a moment before quietly agreeing. Later that evening, after returning to the manor, Julius reflects on the time he spent with Elsa. To his own surprise, he realizes that he genuinely enjoyed being with her. As he changes clothes, he notices that one of his cufflinks is missing. Meanwhile, Elsa is also preparing for bed in her own room, still overflowing with happiness after spending the evening with Julius. When she answers a knock at the door from one of the servants, she accidentally knocks her treasured music box onto the floor. The following morning, Julius searches throughout the palace grounds for his missing cufflink, drawing the attention of many female servants. The maids quickly bow as Alexis walks past them, though he keeps his eyes fixed on Julius. Alexis remarks to Jerry that Julius' behavior today seems rather unusual. Jerry suggests that Alexis is simply trying to avoid his work, but admits that he agrees. Normally, Julius would have noticed them long ago. Alexis finds Julius' unusual behavior highly amusing. By evening, Julius still has not found his missing cufflink. After searching almost the entire day, he begins wondering if he should simply give up and tell Elsa that he lost it. Just then, he hears Elsa asking for permission to enter his room. The moment she enters, Julius notices that Elsa looks unusually downcast. Her expression is so troubled, and it looks like she really has something difficult to share. He immediately assumes she somehow found out about the missing cufflink. However, Elsa tells Julius that she actually has a huge favor to ask of him. She shows him her music box and begins to explain how she accidentally broke it due to her own carelessness. Hoping it can still be repaired, she asks if she can look for a repairman in town tomorrow. Somewhat relieved that it is not about the missing cufflink, Julius agrees and mentions that he knows a repairman, so he will personally take her there. The next day, the two visit the repair shop together. Unfortunately, the repairman explains that he does not have the proper parts needed to repair the music box because they are extremely difficult to obtain in their country. He believes the music box originated from a foreign nation. The two leave the shop and Elsa is visibly heartbroken over the news but tries to brush it off. She tries to lightheartedly blame her own clumsiness and mentions that things are bound to break eventually. Noticing her disappointment, Julius spots a nearby waffle stand and buys her some treats to cheer her up. He lets her take a bite of one, and it immediately makes her feel better. After handing her the waffle, he asks if she would allow him to borrow the music box for a while. Later, Julius brings the music box to Prince Alexis, who immediately recognizes it as a product of the nation of Liberum, a nation that Julius knows is adjacent to Elsa's family's territory. Alexis explains that he is familiar with craftsmanship like this because he once studied there when he was learning about the world. Julius asks whether it would be possible to contact a repairman from Liberum since he wants the music box restored. Alexis curiously asks why Julius is so determined to repair it. Instead, Julius admits that the music box belongs to Elsa and that she told him it is one of her most treasured possessions. Seeing Julius wanting to do something special for Elsa, Alexis gladly agrees to help since it is rare for Julius to ask for personal favors. Unable to hide his curiosity, he jokingly asks whether Julius was the one who broke it. Julius denies it but admits that he wants to apologize for something, so he hopes returning the repaired music box can serve as a peace offering. He explains that he lost one of the cufflinks from the formal shirt Elsa had made for him, which was his first gift from her. Alexis smiles in amusement and remarks that if it had happened between him and his wife, they probably would have gotten into a huge argument. He advises Julius to apologize as soon as possible, or Elsa might end up hating him. Seeing the alarmed look on Julius' face, Alexis quickly admits that he is only teasing. Besides the handmade gift, Julius also shares that Elsa has continued treating him like family, even after he told her on their wedding day that he had no intention of loving her. On his birthday, she celebrated with him as though it were the most natural thing in the world and even prepared a thoughtful present just for him. Alexis smiles warmly before reminding Julius that when he ordered him to marry Elsa, it also meant Julius was free to fall in love with her if he wished. As Julius leaves, Alexis smiles to himself, pleased to see that Julius is finally beginning to care about Elsa. Meanwhile, Julius continues struggling to understand the feelings growing inside his heart. Back at the manor, Elsa tends to her vegetable garden. Ever since Julius took her music box, she is secretly worried that he may have thrown it away. She has neither seen it again nor had the chance to ask about it because Julius has been away on official business in another region. She is so worried about it that she accidentally tills too much of the soil. Suddenly, she hears Julius call her name and is surprised to find that he has already returned. Julius walks over and gently hands her the music box. Elsa stares at it in surprise before carefully opening it. The familiar melody begins to play once more. Smiling softly, Julius comments that he finally knows where the tune Elsa often hums comes from. She explains that it was passed down to her mother from her grandmother. Then when she left home to marry Julius, her parents gave it to her as a wedding gift. Julius quietly remarks that he is happy to see her smiling again. He then tells Elsa that he has another gift for her. From his pocket, he takes out an ornate hair clip. Elsa is deeply touched, but as she examines it more closely, she notices that its design matches the decorations carved into the music box. She immediately realizes that Julius traveled all the way to another region just to have her treasured keepsake repaired. Julius then asks if he may place the hair clip in her hair. After Elsa agrees, he carefully fastens it into her hair. Just then, a servant arrives to remind Julius that he has an important dinner engagement and should begin preparing. Before he leaves, Elsa sincerely thanks him and wishes him a safe journey. Later that evening, Serafino looks at the missing cufflink she picked up during the Sun Festival. Smiling to herself, she wonders when the best time will be to return it. One day, while Elsa helps the servants prepare for her tea party, a servant informs her that one of her guests has already arrived. Later, the tables are filled with noble ladies enjoying the refreshments she prepared. She tells Rebecca that the pastries incorporate vegetables she cultivated in her own garden. When Rebecca and the other ladies take a bite, they are pleasantly surprised by the flavor, saying they never would have guessed they were made with vegetables. Elsa also offers them herbal tea and extends the same offer to Serafina, who is seated at a nearby table. As Elsa walks over to serve the tea, Rebecca is surprised that Serafina accepted the invitation. Serafina and Elsa exchange pleasantries, with Serafina making sure to comment on Elsa's unusual new beret. Elsa smiles fondly and explains that it was a gift from Julius. She goes on to tell Serafina about how her treasured music box was recently broken, how Julius traveled to another region to have it repaired, and that he even brought her a matching present. The story immediately makes Serafina uneasy. Trying to shake Elsa's confidence, Serafina remarks that Julius has always been very good at dealing with women. She mentions that Julius used to give her lovely presents as well. Hoping to make Elsa feel guilty, she adds that Julius must have taken valuable time away from work just to repair the music box. Instead, Elsa reacts with excitement, praising how thoughtful her husband is. Watching the exchange from afar, Rebecca grows concerned. Later, as Elsa sees her guests off, Rebecca decides to stay behind for a while. She thanks Elsa for inviting her and quietly asks whether Serafina said anything strange during the tea party. Elsa replies that they mostly talked about her new beret, which she happily mentions was a gift from Julius. Rebecca is delighted to hear that Julius has started giving Elsa presents and asks how his birthday celebration turned out. Elsa proudly shares that she gave him a handmade shirt and a pair of cufflinks and prepared gratin for dinner. After Rebecca leaves, Serafina approaches Elsa and thanks her for inviting her to the tea party. She then hands Elsa Julius's missing cufflink, casually claiming that Julius left it with her when the two of them were alone together. Later that evening, Julius is busy working when he glances at his sleeve where the cufflink should be. Realizing it has already been 2 weeks since he lost it, he decides that when he gets home, he will finally tell Elsa the truth. When Julius returns to the manor, he finds Elsa waiting for him in her nightclothes. He is momentarily taken aback by how she looks, but quickly hides the fact that he finds her beautiful. Trying to hide his nervousness, he asks how her tea party went. Elsa happily tells him it was a great success and credits the servants for helping her prepare everything. Julius lowers his gaze and gathers the courage to confess about the missing cufflink. However, he and Elsa begin speaking at the same time. He politely tells her to go first. Elsa then takes out his missing cufflink and tells him that Serafina kindly returned it earlier that day. Relief immediately washes over Julius's face. He explains that it must have fallen off while he was speaking with Serafina during the Sun Festival. He admits that he has been searching for it ever since and is incredibly happy to have it back. Elsa notices how much happier he looks. Later that night, Elsa moves to return to her room. Thinking back on the day, she realizes that people like her husband naturally shine wherever they go. She also remembers what Serafina told her and concludes that she must learn to shine just as brightly if she hopes to become a worthy wife for Julius. For now, she decides it is time to get some rest. Back in his own room, Julius quietly stares at the recovered cufflink. He's a little bothered that Elsa never seemed upset that the cufflink had been in Serafina's possession, nor did she seem concerned that it had gone missing. He slowly realizes that Elsa probably does not see him as a romantic partner at all. Pushing those thoughts aside, he decides to retire for the evening. The following morning, Julius and Elsa enjoy a quiet breakfast together. While reviewing his work for the day, Julius tells Elsa that he may be returning home late that evening. For a brief moment, he pauses to admire the cheerful expression on her face before continuing, telling her that she does not have to wait for him and should have dinner without him. After Julius leaves, Elsa prepares to spend the morning sewing with the maids. Just then, she notices a servant panicking because Julius accidentally left behind several important documents. Elsa happily volunteers to deliver them herself. During the carriage ride, the coachman informs her that they will soon arrive at the royal castle. After dropping her off at the entrance, Elsa begins walking through the castle grounds, completely captivated by how grand and beautiful everything is. Several castle staff members kindly help direct her, and she eventually learns that Julius is working in the south wing on the 3rd floor. As she approaches the south wing, she notices a magnificent flower garden. Unable to resist, Elsa tells herself that it would not hurt to stop for just a moment to admire it. As she marvels at the colorful flowers, Jarmo approaches her and politely asks whether she is lost. Thinking she may have wandered somewhere she should not be, Elsa immediately apologizes for intruding. Jarmo reassures her that the garden does not belong to him. Elsa finally looks up at him and notices that he is remarkably handsome. After he introduces himself, Elsa recognizes his surname and asks if he happens to know Serafina. Jarmo smiles and explains that Serafina is his younger sister. Elsa immediately notices the resemblance because she thinks they are both very beautiful. Remembering her manners, she introduces herself as Julius's wife. Jarmo's expression brightens as he says he has heard quite a bit about her. He explains that he and Julius attended the Royal Academy together. Excited by the revelation, Elsa eagerly asks if he can tell her stories about Julius during his school days. Jarmo jokingly asks whether she wants to hear about all the trouble Julius used to get into. Flustered, Elsa quickly clarifies that she actually wanted to learn more about Julius's likes and interests. Chuckling, Jarmo admits that he has been curious about Elsa ever since everyone was shocked by the sudden announcement of Julius's marriage. Elsa freezes, worrying that Jarmo may somehow know that her marriage to Julius is just for show. She realizes there are probably many people who suspect the same thing. Remembering Julius's instructions, she decides to explain that their marriage was arranged. Before she can continue explaining how they met, she accidentally drops her bag. As she bends down to pick it up, she wonders how she can avoid revealing that she and Julius first met on their wedding day. Jarmo helps pick up her things before quietly telling her that he feels sorry for her because she seems so innocent and unaware of the many rumors surrounding Julius. He gently warns Elsa not to become too attached to Julius, or she may end up with a broken heart. As Elsa reaches for her bag, Jarmo softly remarks that if she had married him instead, she would never have to endure such hardships. At that moment, Hannes spots Elsa from a distance. He walks over and Elsa introduces him to Jarmo. Hannes politely introduces himself as Elsa's younger brother. Looking at the two siblings together, Jarmo smiles and remarks that it is easy to see they are family. Elsa then asks Hannes why he is at the castle. Hannes explains that since he will soon begin working there, he wanted to familiarize himself with the grounds and has even been helping with small jobs around the castle. When Hannes asks whether Elsa came to see Julius, she suddenly remembers the documents she was supposed to deliver. Hannes offers to guide her the rest of the way. Elsa apologizes to Jarmo, explaining that she has something important she must do. Jarmo lets her go, smiling as he says he hopes they will meet again someday. He continues watching the siblings walk away, but the smile disappears from his face the moment they are too far away to notice him. With Hannes and Elsa, Hannes lectures her about being careful with the people she talks to, reminding her that they belong to a fallen royal bloodline. Elsa explains that Jarmo only called out to her because he thought she was lost. Hannes smiles at his sister's innocence, commenting that Jarmo looked like he was plotting something. He then realizes they have arrived and opens the door for her, revealing a grand study large enough to rival a library. The two approach the reception desk, where Elsa explains that she came to deliver some important documents. When she hands over the file, the receptionist checks its contents and immediately recognizes that they are the documents needed for today's meeting. She thanks Elsa for bringing them. Elsa also hands over a small bag, explaining that it contains some baked goods that she hopes everyone will enjoy. As Elsa turns to leave, the receptionist asks for her name. Elsa introduces herself as Julius's wife and even thanks the receptionist for always helping Julius with his work. The receptionist is charmed by her kindness. She recalls that many of the noble ladies she deals with are ill-mannered and rude, making Elsa's sweet personality all the more refreshing. As Elsa prepares to leave, the receptionist encourages her to wait since Julius's meeting should be ending soon. However, Elsa says she does not want to disturb him during working hours. She accidentally bumps into Julius at the doorway. The two are momentarily surprised to see each other. Elsa explains that she came to deliver the documents he had been reviewing during breakfast. At that moment, Alexis and Jerry arrive and notice Elsa standing there. Julius starts to introduce her, only for Elsa to introduce herself at the exact same time. Recovering from the awkward moment, Julius explains that Elsa came to deliver the documents he forgot. Elsa also mentions that she brought some carrot cake for everyone and hopes they will enjoy it. Julius visibly cringes at the mention of carrots. However, he notices several of his staff members already enjoying the cake and commenting on how delicious it is. He quickly tells them to make sure they leave some for him. Elsa announces that now that Julius has returned to work, she should head back home. Julius suddenly makes a small sound, causing Elsa to stop and look back at him curiously. However, all Julius can do is quietly stare at her. Alexis sighs before deciding to step in. He points out that Julius has not taken his afternoon break yet and suggests that he use it now to share some tea with Elsa. Although Elsa gratefully accepts the invitation, Jerry immediately realizes that Alexis is deliberately trying to bring the two of them closer together. Inside Julius's office, Julius eyes the slice of carrot cake on his plate with obvious suspicion. Elsa smiles and admits that he already ate carrots this morning. She reveals that she secretly mixed finely chopped carrots into the breakfast scones. She cheerfully explains that this is all part of her plan to help him eat more vegetables. Noticing him continue to stare at the cake, she reassures him that she adjusted the recipe to reduce the smell of the carrots, making them much easier to eat. Touched by the effort she put into it, Julius finally takes a cautious bite. To his surprise, he actually enjoys it. Elsa smiles brightly, delighted that he willingly ate vegetables even after knowing they were inside the cake. Julius quietly studies her, wondering how she managed to become so close to him so naturally. When he opens the office door, he catches Alexis and the others trying to eavesdrop. Julius immediately orders them back to work. Once they are gone, Julius turns back to Elsa and sincerely thanks her for bringing the documents he forgot. Later, Elsa boards a carriage to return to the manor. She suddenly remembers that she forgot to tell Julius about meeting Jarmo earlier and wonders whether she should mention it later. Unbeknownst to her, Jarmo is watching her carriage leave from one of the palace windows. One morning, Julius stands before his wardrobe deciding what to wear for his outing with Elsa. He knows she does not dress extravagantly, so he wants to match her modest style without looking too plain himself. He recalls how Alexis spent the previous day teasing him about his first date with Elsa. Both Alexis and Jerry even joked that Julius would have to submit a detailed report afterward. A servant interrupts his thoughts to inform him that Elsa is already waiting. Julius quickly grabs a coat before heading to meet her for their outing. When he reaches the foyer, he is momentarily stunned. Elsa looks more beautiful than usual. The two wait for their carriage together, and Elsa excitedly talks about how much she has been looking forward to their outing. Her genuine enthusiasm makes her look incredibly adorable, forcing Julius to hide the growing affection stirring in his heart. During the carriage ride, Elsa admits that she was surprised when Julius invited her out the other day. She remembers how Julius offered to take her on an outing as thanks for helping him with his work. Although she was happy that he had thought of her, she confessed that she did not know many places around the capital that would make for a good date spot. To make things easier, Julius asked if there was anything she particularly enjoyed doing. Once again, Elsa admitted that she never really had hobbies because she spent most of her childhood doing chores and working on the family farm in the countryside. Julius then offered to choose their first destination himself and told her they could go on many more outings together until she discovered what she enjoyed doing in the capital. Now watching Elsa quietly smile to herself, Julius fondly tells her that they have arrived. Their destination turns out to be a large botanical garden. He watches Elsa's eyes light up as she admires the countless flowers and marvels at how healthy every plant looks. A quiet sense of satisfaction fills Julius as he realizes he chose a place that truly makes her happy. As they enter one of the greenhouses, Elsa immediately notices that many of the flowers are not native to their kingdom. Julius explains that this particular garden specializes in plants imported from the southern regions. Elsa sincerely thanks him for choosing such a wonderful place, saying it is the perfect destination for their first outing. She eagerly leads him deeper into the gardens, excited to discover more rare and unusual plants she has never seen before. Eventually, she reaches an exhibit featuring carnivorous plants. Just looking at plants that eat insects is enough to make Julius feel uncomfortable. As they continue walking, Elsa enthusiastically explains in detail how the plants trap and digest bugs. Julius quietly tries to hide his discomfort. His unease only grows when he notices countless insects flying around the greenhouse. Suddenly, a fly darts straight toward him. Elsa quickly catches it between both of her hands before releasing it safely away from him. She smiles reassuringly and tells him that everything is fine now. Julius cannot help but admire how fearless she is around insects. Elsa cheerfully tells him that he can always count on her to protect him from bugs before happily leading the way once again. Eventually, they stop beside a beautiful fountain. Elsa comments that since she grew up deep in the countryside, places like this botanical garden simply do not exist in her hometown. A patch of violet flowers catches her attention and she points out that the same flowers also grow in her family's territory. She explains that an elderly man had once taught her that the plant is poisonous before enthusiastically launching into a detailed explanation of how to identify poisonous plants. Listening to her animated explanation, Julius cannot help but say out loud that Elsa is an interesting person. The unexpected compliment immediately brings a blush to Elsa's cheeks. Embarrassed, both of them instinctively look away. Gathering his courage, Julius decides that it is finally time to confess that he has started developing feelings for her. Before he can finish speaking, however, Jarmo suddenly calls out to them. Jarmo approaches with a friendly smile and greets the couple. Julius is surprised to see Elsa greeting Jarmo so naturally, realizing that the two have already met before. Without thinking, Julius instinctively steps in front of Elsa before asking Jarmo what brings him there. Jarmo politely greets Julius before explaining that his family funds the botanical garden, so he came to inspect its upkeep. He casually mentions that Serafina previously sent Julius an invitation to the garden's grand opening. Julius replies that he received the invitation but was too busy to attend. He adds that he sent one of his servants to inform Serafina of his absence. Hearing that reminds Elsa of how busy Julius has been lately. Jarmo excuses himself, explaining that he still has inspections to finish. As Julius leads Elsa away, Jarmo watches the two of them leave. He cannot help noticing how protective Julius has become compared to the man he used to know. Finding the change fascinating, Jarmo decides to keep observing them again. As Julius and Elsa continue strolling through the gardens, Julius finally asks her about Jarmo. Elsa explains that she met him while delivering documents to the castle and admits that she completely forgot to tell Julius about it afterward. Remembering Hannah's lecture, she nervously asks whether she accidentally caused Julius any trouble. She apologizes in advance, explaining that she is still inexperienced when it comes to proper etiquette among the nobility. Julius quietly studies her, carefully considering how he should respond. If it were anyone else, finding the right words would have been easy. But when it comes to Elsa, he finds himself thinking much more carefully before speaking. Before he can answer, raindrops suddenly begin to fall heavily. The two quickly hurry toward a nearby gazebo to take shelter. Once they are safely out of the rain, Julius reassures Elsa that she did nothing wrong. He explains that although he and Jarmo attended the Royal Academy together, they were never particularly close. That is why he reacted so cautiously when Jarmo approached them earlier. However, Julius chooses not to tell Elsa that Jarmo's family is suspected of supporting the anti-royalist faction. Instead, he quietly recalls his earlier discussions with Alexis and Jerry. The more he thinks about it, the more suspicious he becomes of Jarmo approaching Elsa without any clear reason. Elsa suddenly thanks Julius for taking her out, saying that she had a wonderful time despite getting caught in the rain. She tells him that there's a saying that rain is a blessing and she personally loves the sound of raindrops falling. Curious, Julius closes his eyes and listens to the rainfall, hoping to understand why Elsa enjoys it so much. As he listens, he finds himself appreciating the gentle sound and smiles. Moved by the moment, he quietly tells Elsa that he is happy she became his wife. Unfortunately, the rain suddenly grows heavier, drowning out his words. When Elsa asks him to repeat himself, Julius becomes embarrassed and decides not to. Before Elsa can press the matter, she suddenly sneezes from the cold. Julius immediately removes his coat and drapes it over her shoulders, apologizing that it is the only way he can keep her warm for now. Since they are already close to the entrance, he suggests they make a run for it. Elsa worries that he will catch a cold since he no longer has an outer coat. Julius reassures her that he will be fine. Taking her hand, he begins running with her through the rain as though they have been together for years. When they finally return to the manor, the servants are surprised to find Julius asleep against Elsa's shoulder. They explain that Julius is probably exhausted because he sacrificed several nights of sleep to finish his work early so he could spend today with her. As Elsa gently tries to wake him, Julius suddenly slumps into her lap. Only then does Elsa realize that he has developed a fever. Later, they manage to get Julius on his bed, and a doctor speaks to Elsa about his cold and how to properly take care of him. Eventually, he leaves Elsa after instructing her about the medicines. Left alone with him, Elsa quietly watches Julius as he sleeps, noticing how troubled his expression looks even in his dreams. Inside Julius' dream, he remembers a day from his childhood. His mother had taken him to watch a horsemanship competition. Afterward, the two excitedly made their way home, eager to tell his father all about the results. Suddenly, his mother stopped walking. Just in front of them in a cafe was Julius' father, happily entertaining another woman. Still too young to understand what was happening, Julius was about to run over and greet his father. Before he could, his mother grabbed his hand and forcefully dragged him away. During the carriage ride home, it began to rain. His mother bitterly muttered about how horrible the day had become and confessed that she hated the sound of the rain. Young Julius remembered feeling completely lost. Then, the dream changes. Sitting beside him is Elsa. She smiles warmly and tells him how much she loves the rain. She says that her favorite part is the peaceful sound the raindrops make. Her gentle smile is the last thing Julius sees before waking. When Julius opens his eyes, he first notices that it is already dark outside and he can faintly hear the sound of rain. Turning his head, he finds Elsa watching over him with a worried expression. She explains that he caught a cold and lost consciousness during the carriage ride home. She thanks him since she had managed to avoid getting sick because he insisted she wear his coat. Seeing that it's safe to leave him, Elsa offers to prepare a light meal and fetch him some water. Before she can leave his room, Julius weakly requests her to stay by his side tonight. Elsa smiles and agrees. The next time Julius wakes up, it's already morning and he feels much better. He then notices Elsa asleep in a chair beside his bed. This makes him realize that she really kept her promise and stayed with him the entire night. A gentle smile spreads across his face as he realizes he loves her. A little later, Elsa hands him a glass filled with an odd-looking drink. She proudly explains that it is an old family recipe. Julius eyes the weirdly colored liquid suspiciously, already convinced that it probably tastes awful. Elsa reassures him that it is perfectly safe and eagerly waits for him to try it. Unable to refuse her hopeful expression, Julius finally takes a cautious sip. He eventually finishes the entire drink before thanking her. Elsa happily tells him that he can always rely on her because they are family. Julius quietly stares at her, never really expecting such comfort to blossom from his arranged marriage with her. He realizes that he likes the idea of becoming a true family with Elsa. Just then, Elsa cheerfully tells him that it is finally time to take his actual medicine. The drink she gave him earlier was only juice. For some reason, Julius bursts into laughter. The thought of their growing relationship fills him with unexpected happiness. Once his cold has completely subsided, Julius returns to work at the royal palace. He reports to Alexis that his illness kept him away from work for several days. Alexis welcomes him back before teasing that he assumed Julius' outing with Elsa became such an eventful honeymoon that it lasted longer than expected. Seeing Julius blush with embarrassment, Jerry explains that Elsa had already sent a letter informing them about Julius' illness and absence. Setting the teasing aside, Alexis moves on to more important matters. He informs Julius that Duke Parnilla will soon be hosting a large gathering at his estate. Alexis wants Julius to attend the party and gather intelligence. Without hesitation, Julius accepts the assignment. One day, Elsa is with the maids again. They had harvested flowers earlier and intend to make all sorts of items with them. Julius enters the room and Elsa is surprised to see him home so early. It turns out he has been looking for her and is happy to see her enjoying herself with their staff. As they walk through the halls, Elsa talks about how beautiful the cosmos in their garden are. She and the maids had decided to harvest some to make items like potpourri. She even mentions that she had already made jam with him earlier, surprising Julius that something like that was even possible. He chats about it with her lightly until they reach his study, where he hands her an envelope. He explains that it is an invitation to a party hosted by the Parnilla family. Julius tells her that he is already attending as part of his work, but this time he would like Elsa to join him as his wife. Elsa is a little uneasy and admits that she has never attended a soiree before. However, she wants his work to go well, so she promises to make the necessary preparations for the event, which puts Julius at ease. Later that evening, Elsa thinks about what soirees are like for people in high society. As she reads about them, she realizes that Sophia had already taught her about them when she was younger. She feels grateful for her mother's lessons and begins preparing by practicing her posture, having her maids help her with her dress, and even practicing how to introduce herself every time she gets the chance to. When her dress is finally finished, she takes a look at it and is pleased with the outcome. When she finally puts it on during the evening of the party, she is surprised by how beautiful it makes her feel. Julius enters the room and is surprised as well. He is about to compliment her, but holds himself back and recomposes himself, reminding her that they need to start heading to the party. Elsa happily follows him out. When they arrive, Elsa feels her nerves rise with anxiety. Julius quickly moves to her side, worried about her sudden silence. His presence instantly relaxes her and she comments that he looks extra dazzling tonight. The couple is then approached by Rebecca and they exchange pleasantries. The two girls hold hands and Julius notices that Elsa has started explaining her dress and nervousness to Rebecca. In turn, Rebecca also explains her outfit, and the two girls begin gushing about how their respective husbands helped make lovely gowns for them. Julius is surprised that Elsa and Rebecca have grown so close without him realizing it. Hannes soon joins them, and Elsa is surprised that he is there. To explain his presence, he tells Elsa that since he has been spending more time at the castle, Jarmo personally handed him an invitation. This makes Julius curious about why Jarmo invited Hannes without some sort of ulterior motive. His thoughts shift when someone announces the entrance of the Parnilla family. Everyone notices how pristine and glamorous the entire family looks as they make their grand entrance. Count Parnilla welcomes his guests to his residence and announces that he has prepared plenty of food and refreshments to make their evening enjoyable. He also tells them that music and the ballroom are available for their enjoyment. Soon, the crowd begins moving around to socialize and enjoy the party. Rebecca excuses herself from Elsa so she can greet other acquaintances. Count Parnilla then approaches them and thanks Julius for his presence. He notices Elsa and asks about her. Julius does not hesitate to introduce Elsa as his wife, who also offers her own polite greeting to the Count. Count Parnilla gives her a curious look before wishing the couple a good evening and heading off to greet other guests. Serafina decides to stay behind and greets Elsa before making a request to borrow Julius from her because she wants to introduce him to some guests. Julius notices that she wants him to speak to members of the investigation squad, so he promises Elsa that he will come back for her. Elsa allows it and watches as Julius and Serafina leave her side, understanding that Julius probably needs to leave her so he can get his work done. Soon she is approached by two ladies who have been wanting to speak to her. She decides to start socializing herself, remembering how to conduct herself in high society. Soon, many people approach her, curious about who she is, while Julius is busy extracting as much information as he can from the guests. Elsa blends well with everyone and seems to be enjoying herself, while Julius performs his duties as usual with Serafina constantly hanging around his arm. Watching from above, Count Parnilla wonders what Julius' goal is for the evening. Jarmo reassures him to leave Julius to him, revealing that he has somehow discovered that Julius has a new weakness. He tells Count Parnilla that he will not allow anyone to get in the way of his father's plans. After a while, Elsa makes her way to get some refreshments since she is starting to feel dizzy from talking to so many people. She decides to get a non-alcoholic drink, and once she has one in hand, she makes her way to the second floor with the intention of resting on the balcony. However, she sees through the glass door that Julius and Serafina are already there. For some reason, the sight of the two of them together begins to bother her. She then overhears two ladies gossiping that Julius and Serafina make a better couple than she does. She also overhears them suspecting that Julius' wedding to her was merely an arranged marriage due to their family ties. The girls continue to badmouth her, saying that she comes from a ducal house that has fallen from grace and needs the Roy's family to pull them out of poverty. Eventually, Rebecca approaches them, expressing interest in their conversation since they seem to be talking loudly enough for everyone to hear. The girls immediately pale, fully aware that Rebecca is a close friend of Julius and holds a higher rank in society. They quickly make an excuse and hurry away to avoid the conversation. Rebecca finds the ladies utterly shameless and walks over to Elsa, immediately noticing how affected she is by the gossip. She tries reassuring Elsa, but Elsa tells her that most of what the girls had said about her is true. Seeing that Elsa is uneasy, she offers to get something for the both of them to eat so Elsa will have something else to think about. She makes her way back downstairs to get them some food. Left alone again, Elsa looks back toward Julius and Serafina, reminded of how she is not fulfilling her promise as his wife since she couldn't conduct herself like how his wife should. To make matters worse, she can clearly see that Serafina seems to be a better match for Julius as well. The familiar feeling of discomfort rises in her chest, but she assumes it is because she is developing some sort of sickness. She then notices a Viscount named Helco, who is clearly drunk, approaching her. Because he has not recognized her, he decides to start wooing her. Meanwhile, Julius is satisfied with the information he has gathered, having managed to meet several people from his list of suspicious nobles. Julius feels that he has gathered enough intel for the evening, but something about his work tonight feels wrong. In the past, he never minded women clinging to his arms so intimately, but now he feels like he needs to check on Elsa. Hannes approaches him and offers to take over, mentioning that Elsa really needs help. He looks worried as he mentions he cannot do anything. Julius notices that Elsa is speaking to Helco through the window and immediately rushes toward her. Since he never told Serafina that he would be leaving, she assumed he was right beside her and offered to take him to a private room so they could toast. She is shocked when she finds Hannes standing beside her instead of Julius. Back inside, Helco continues trying to make advances on Elsa, who politely explains that she's already taken. He offers to keep her company even though Elsa is clearly uncomfortable. When he grabs her arm, Julius immediately seizes his wrist and scolds Helco for treating Elsa so roughly. Julius pulls Elsa closer to him and explains that she is actually his wife. Helco is unimpressed and tries to start a fight, but once he gets a better look at Julius, he recognizes him and realizes that he has made a grave mistake for his family. Julius casually mentions that there have been reports about suspicious iron ore in the kingdom, and that the iron ore produced on Helco's land is due to be investigated. Originally, he had intended to pay Helco a visit, but seeing him at the party now works to his advantage. He then threatens to treat Helco's advances toward his wife as a declaration of hostility against his ducal house. Satisfied with Helco's frightened reaction, Julius tells the Viscount that he will excuse his actions for tonight before dragging Elsa away from the scene. Rebecca, who witnessed everything, feels proud of Julius. No one notices that Jarmo has been watching everything from afar. In a more private part of the second floor, Julius apologizes to Elsa for leaving her alone for so long. However, Elsa apologizes for getting in the way of his work and causing a scene. Julius tells her that she did not interfere at all. In fact, she performed her duties as his wife by speaking with the other guests. He thanks Elsa for agreeing to accompany him that evening and finally compliments her appearance, mentioning how happy he is that the dress he personally picked out made her look so lovely. Elsa feels that her husband is truly kind. Hiding behind a pillar, Jarmo overhears their exchange. He thinks about how he had deliberately caused the situation by continually encouraging Helco to drink. Once Helco was drunk enough, Jarmo made sure to point out how lonely Elsa looked, giving Helco the idea to approach her. He watches Julius and Elsa leave together, satisfied with how affected Julius has become when it comes to matters concerning Elsa. A few days later, Serafina scolds her maids who are trying to brighten her mood by bringing her all her favorite cakes. She orders them away, still heartbroken over how Julius left her during the evening of the soiree. She feels like she had been cast aside since he has not even bothered to contact her to apologize. When she hears a knock, she angrily demands to be left alone. However, a servant still enters and informs her that a message from Julius has just arrived. Her mood immediately brightens and she decides to read the letter, her heart soaring once again. Serafina smiles and calls one of her maids to help her get ready because she is finally going to see Julius and needs to look her best. At the royal palace, Serafina waits for Julius at their usual meeting spot in one of the many gardens with a tower-like stone structure. When Julius arrives, he apologizes for leaving without bidding her farewell that evening. Serafina assures him that she was not bothered at all, trying to remain charming for him. However, Julius suddenly brings up a rumor that has started spreading among the nobles. Many now believe that Serafina is his true love, while Elsa is merely his wife for show. Serafina does not seem bothered by the rumor. In fact, she feels proud that people see how intimate she can be with Julius compared to Elsa. However, Julius explains that he does not want any misunderstandings with his wife. He came to speak with Serafina personally and ask her to be more cautious about her actions concerning him. Despite the tears welling up in her eyes, Julius turns and leaves her behind. Once he is gone, Serafina realizes that Julius never truly loved her, no matter how beautiful she is or how much she has done for him. Tears stream down her face as she feels betrayed. She angrily stomps on a fallen rose and swears that she will never forgive him. For the first time, her anger is directed at Julius instead of Elsa. One evening, Jarmo receives a letter from Helko requesting his aid due to pressure from the Royas family. Jarmo decides to ignore the letter and burns it. He feels that Viscount Helko was always doomed to fail, so helping him would be meaningless. At the very least, Jarmo managed to make use of him before his fall from power. He then hears a concerning sound. In Serafina's room, she destroys all her pillows out of frustration over her broken heart, and the maids are at a loss as to what to do. Jarmo walks in and tells her fondly not to get feathers all over their manor. Serafina immediately asks him if she's lovely. When Jarmo confirms her worth, Serafina tells him that Julius considers Elsa far more important than her. Jarmo reassures her that she's far more beautiful than any jewel. This only fuels Serafina's frustrations further, as she claims that Julius is blind for disregarding her. Jarmo observes her and finds it interesting that Julius is ruining the relationship he had with Serafina in favor of Elsa, since being in a relationship with Serafina is beneficial for his job. He finds Elsa's sudden appearance in Julius' life to be very interesting. On another day, Alexis praises Julius for cracking down on the falsification of iron ore in the kingdom with minimal damage. He mentions this will greatly help their kingdom maintain their good reputation of ore. Alexis says it was handled so swiftly from the front lines, which is unusual given how Julius normally works. Julius reasons that his current process was due to having to deal with a foolish noble. Alexis praises him for the rest of his work and tells Julius that he can take it easy with simple castle work until the next big assignment. Julius makes his way to leave, but Alexis nearly stops him because he wants to hear about the part involving Elsa. However, Julius hurriedly leaves and pretends not to hear his question. Once he is outside the hall, Julius begins thinking about the work he has to do. With the year approaching its end, he knows the palace needs to prepare for a lot of events, so the simple castle work is hardly an easy task. He notices Hannes in one of the offices and sees several ladies handing him all sorts of presents which Hannes happily accepts. Hannes spots him and invites him outside for a chat. In the garden, Hannes hands Julius a box and mentions that it is for Elsa. He explains that it is a book Elsa has been wanting and that it is for her birthday. Julius is surprised since he did not know Elsa's birthday was coming up. Hannes smiles, already aware that Elsa is not the type to mention her birthday, so he decides to tell Julius the exact date of her birth. Hannes explains that he bought the book because Elsa is not the type to buy things for herself, and she probably would not have asked Julius for it either. Julius realizes that he never even thought to ask Elsa about her birthday. He starts feeling guilty because she made the effort to celebrate his birthday. Hannes notices Julius' expression and tells him that he will be rooting for him. Later that evening, Elsa worries about Julius since he seems to be very busy. She decides to bring him some tea. Despite announcing her arrival, Julius does not realize that she is the one bringing him drinks and food. She sets everything on the table and is about to leave. It is only then that Julius realizes it was Elsa all along, so he calls out her name. Quickly remembering that Hannes entrusted something to him, he hands her the gift and explains that it is for her birthday. As he gives it to her, he expresses his hope that Elsa will allow him to celebrate her actual birthday with him, since they had celebrated his birthday together as a family. Elsa feels touched that he is being so considerate toward her and tells him that she is looking forward to celebrating it together. When Elsa returns to her room and opens the present, she realizes that it is the new book she has been wanting to read. It suddenly hits her that this will be her first birthday without her birth family. The thought of celebrating it with Julius makes her heart drum for some reason. As she looks into the night sky, she remembers that her birthday is the day the white orchids bloom. Several days pass, and it is finally Elsa's birthday. However, Julius apologizes and tells her that he has an important meeting to attend that day. He assures Elsa that he still plans on celebrating with her and that there is a place he wants to take her. He asks her to wait for him there till he arrives after his work. When he turns to leave, the head servants notice that Julius looks oddly determined despite only having to leave for a meeting. As his carriage leaves, Elsa notices that it is beginning to snow. Later, Elsa arrives at the venue Julius wants to take her to, but since it is snowing and Julius has yet to arrive, her servant tells her to wait in the carriage. To pass the time, Elsa decides to wrap herself in the blanket from her parents and read the book she received from Hannes. As she reads, she thinks about how good the story is. It is about an arrogant prince who does not seem to care about anyone. Because of his cruelty, a witch curses him and turns him into a rose plant. Every day, thorny brambles grow until they completely bury the castle. The villagers grow fearful and try to burn the brambles, but the florist's daughter stops them, explaining that the thorns are only trying to protect the rose and are proof of strength and will. The prince hears the young woman's words and falls in love with her. He feels ashamed of the way he has treated people and prepares himself to be burned. Because he has lost his will to live, the brambles stop growing. The florist's daughter then finds a blue rose among the brambles one day and picks it. This causes the witch's curse to break, and the prince returns to his human form. Eventually, the prince and the florist's daughter fall in love and live together in happiness. Elsa suddenly sneezes from the cold and remembers how cold it often was when she lived with her family. She is reminded of her parents and thinks about how she used to wish to marry and have a close romantic relationship like theirs. When she agreed to become betrothed to another ducal house, she had been prepared to give up that dream. However, despite his initial harsh words, Julius has recently shown her a warmer and more intimate side of himself. Suddenly, Julius opens the carriage door and apologizes for his tardiness. Elsa notices that Julius looks a little frazzled, but he tells her they need to hurry into the theater. He shows her 2 tickets, and Elsa learns that Julius has bought them seats to an opera based on the book she received. Elsa tells him that she is really happy about it because she has never gotten to watch an opera with such a high production value. Julius begins feeling proud that he chose this present. He urges her to take his arm so he can escort her inside. The two make their way into the theater, and Elsa finds herself captivated by the show in front of her. Seeing it live is a whole new experience, and she can't help but be brought to tears as she watches the characters from the book come to life. By the end of the show, the couple leaves the theater, and Elsa is practically brimming with happiness over the performance. She thanks Julius for the experience because it's something she truly enjoyed. However, Julius thanks her as well. He tells her that she was the one who reminded him how important birthdays are and how happy he is that she managed to make her smile on her day. To end their date, he wishes her a happy birthday. Julius also shares that the staff wants to celebrate with her when they get home. He tells her that he is sure they prepared something nice for their dinner since they are all fond of Elsa. Noticing how kindly he looks at her, Elsa quietly tells her family back home not to worry about her because she managed to enjoy her birthday in such a beautiful way with her new family. On another day, Elsa is buying new vegetable seeds at a store in the capital. Elsa even tells the shopkeeper that Julius helped prepare the soil for the new plants this time around. The shopkeeper mentions that they recently received a new rose variety, and it's a type that blooms in every season. Elsa studies the tiny buds and remembers the blue roses from the play. Though these ones are a different color, she can't help but be reminded of the play, so she decides to take one seedling with her. She begins her walk home, feeling proud of what she managed to buy. However, she soon realizes she has no idea what part of town she is in. Right in front of her, she finds an old-looking church, which also seems to have an orphanage. This reminds her of the orphanage she used to frequent in her old territory. She notices a sign looking for new teachers as well as a call for donations. She also hears a man complain that the orphans should not be eating for free and that they should be put to work. A nun stands protectively in front of the children and tells the man that children should be studying instead of working. The man only scoffs at the notion because he is aware that the children don't even have a teacher. Elsa decides to interrupt and mentions that she's interested in the teaching position, even introducing herself as being from a ducal house. In the palace, Jerry notices that Julius has been avoiding work that requires him to leave the capital lately. While Julius mentions that he is uneasy about having to leave his mansion without a master, Jerry can clearly tell that Elsa is the main reason Julius wants to stay home more often. He can also tell that Julius is looking forward to spending his time off with her as well due to how quickly he seems to be working lately. Jerry decides to bring her up, telling Julius that he spotted her earlier out in town while he visited. He says he saw her in front of a church all alone looking deep in thought. Julius looks a little annoyed, mentioning how Elsa has a bad habit of going off without an attendant. However, Jerry can once again tell that all Julius is thinking about is having dinner with her later. Later, when Julius returns home, he is surprised that only the maids are there to greet him, but they tell him that Elsa is actually in the living room waiting for him. When he enters, he spots Elsa asleep on one of the couches. Tanya, one of the maids, offers to wake her up, but Julius decides it's best to let her rest and refuses to eat ahead of her. The maid leaves the room, and Julius goes up to Elsa and drapes his coat over her so she won't be cold. He looks at her smiling face fondly as she sleeps. When Elsa wakes up, she is surprised to see Julius on the couch nearby and apologizes for not being there to greet him when he arrived home. When he gives her a kind smile, she decides to excitedly talk about her trip into town. She is about to tell him about the children's home, but her stomach loudly complains. Julius hears it and suggests that they have their meal now. Not wanting to sound as if he had waited for her, he tells Elsa that he wanted to sort out his work first before eating. When she gives him a concerned look, he reassures her that work will begin slowing down next week, so she doesn't have to worry about him too much. Once that happens, he tells Elsa to show him her progress in the garden. At the Parnilla house, Jarmo receives word about Elsa getting a job as a teacher at a children's home. He smiles as he thinks of a new scheme. Thanks for watching. Subscribe now and see what happens next.